I'm not going to lie, emotional tears definitely are hydrating and refreshing. We have another man that is being blindsided, or who is in his find out season, if you will. This guy cry subreddit is definitely one that just keeps on giving. This man says, wife is no longer in love with me, has asked for a separation, and has mentally moved on, and has already started dating other people less than a month later. All right, let's get into it. He says, I thought I was going to be with her forever, and now I realize that it is impossible because I have at least a modicum of self-respect. I, 39-year-old man, and my wife have been, who's 33, have been together for 10 years, married for 4 years. Around 2 years ago, she told me she was unhappy and that she felt burdened by the physical and mental load around the house. I listened, took accountability, and modified my behavior to be a better person for her, not for him or because he needs to be an adult around the house, but for her. I do acknowledge early on in the relationship, the workload around the house was a bit unfair, and I did my best to rectify those issues. She always felt burdened by it, and I always made a conscientious effort to make her feel less burdened by it. She is a very naturally anxious, emotional person, and I am a very practical, less emotional individual. If he is practical, he should have been doing more already without her having to ask. But anyways, let's continue. Around 2.5 years ago, she seemed to mentally check out. I asked her about it and she said I wasn't doing enough around the house, and in addition to that, she felt emotionally unsafe. I asked her for specifics and she mentioned things that seemed trivial to me at the time, but they were obviously important to her. I did my best to validate those feelings, even though I didn't feel like I was the manipulator. I'm a pretty easygoing person and want people to feel safe around me, both mentally and physically. So it's actually a huge priority of mine, and she knows that, so her saying that stung a bit. So he's saying he's practical. She gave him examples, and he's still saying like he needed examples for some strange reason, even though he's the more practical one. This is wild that, oh my gosh, his big logical brain couldn't figure these things out, even with examples. Fast forward a few months ago, she asked for a separation, citing that she is no longer romantically in love with me. I asked her how would she like to move forward? Does she want to move towards working together or towards being apart? She said at that time she didn't know. Then she asked me what are the rules of separation. I told her to do what she wants because she's going to do it anyway, and I'd rather you be truthful about it than try to lie to me. Less than a month later, she's going on dating apps and going out on dates with total strangers. To me, it's still stepping out on the marriage because I now know she doesn't respect it at all. I know at this point what to do and how to proceed, but I'm the type of person who took my vows seriously and feel disappointed and disrespected. Marriage is full of high highs and low lows. She bailed on a low point, and I just can't see myself with someone that can do that. Worst of all, we still live in the same home, financially incapable of leaving at this point. I'm just sad it has come to this and feel as though I was duped. I find myself wondering, is this the woman I married and I'm finding out who she really is? I'm just at a loss. Thanks for hearing me vent. I refuse to cry in front of her and try to remain neutral and as stoic as possible, but it's hard. If these people were really the big, logical, big brain type of humans, just practical and just can think out all of these problems, I wonder why it takes them like actual lists. Like what are the issues? They hear the examples, they hear the things, and still can't fathom why someone checked out. He knew that this woman checked out 2.5 years ago, and then all of a sudden she is physically leaving. She emotionally left this man 2.5 years ago. He just didn't notice because he didn't care. He said, I tried to unburden her a bit because it was just for her, not because this is the thing that you needed to do in your relationship. He's doing all this as the practical one, where she's the one that's just mentally unstable. These people will continue to lose their relationships because women are not just sticking and staying simply because we have to. Women are leaving when they reach that point where they are no longer tolerating the tolerable level of permanent unhappiness. They are leaving. They're not going to continue to accept these men who won't participate in their marriage. They won't participate with the kids. They won't do housework because they think that it is a woman's job. C. Dazer, who I believe is a woman, did the TLDR, the too long didn't read, saying, "For years, my wife was overburdened in our relationship because I treated her as a drudge. 2 years ago, she told me how unhappy this made her, but I basically blew her off because it was a sweet setup for me. Now she's left. I now have to do my own shopping, cooking, cleaning, laundry, and life admin, and this sucks. I am also personally embarrassed because my wife has left me. I want my house slave back. I do not care whether or not she is happy. I do not intend to change my behavior. Fix it for me, Reddit." And literally, this TLDR could be, is relevant for most of these guy cries or these find out season posts, these blindsided husbands who just like, I didn't see it coming, even though these women are practically letting them know, I am leaving you. I am leaving you because of X, Y, and Z. They don't listen, and then they come to Reddit to say, don't be like me. All I can do is laugh. C.S. Cotran says, "For every woman who gets a divorce, there is a man who is completely stunned, even though I can guarantee she's told him many, many times what was wrong." Valuable K says, "This sub isn't for attacking the OP. You can go to any other sub for that if that's how you want to use your time." This is a funny name. Well, what y'all doing says, "Yeah, not saying I think OP is in the right because I have no doorway into the intimacies of their life. However, I do find it ironic how anytime a man admits to being hurt, crying, upset, and posted on here, a horde of women come in with their pitchforks to remind him how awful he must be and how inadequate he must be, all while making sure to point out the fact that he won't cry in front of his wife. Hello, this is why." I'm not going to go into guy cry and make fun. We're just going to talk about these people on these videos in the comment section. And then C. Dazer says, "Nope, I'm perfectly happy, never been divorced. Just read Reddit. Thousands of men with the same story. 2, 3, 4 years ago, my wife told me how unhappy she was and that I wasn't doing my fair share at home. I didn't fix it. Today she left me. You'd think the rest of you would get the message, but apparently not." And then Yellow Lined Paper says, "I've been told on this sub that women need to be more direct than I'm unhappy. And we're supposed to say, I'm leaving if this doesn't change. What a lot of men are missing is that us being unhappy should be enough to make them hear us. Instead, it's treated as trivial because it doesn't affect them. They want to know if it's going to affect them and then they'll change. But why would a woman want to be with someone who thinks their partner's issues aren't important unless it affects their own lives?" Now we have the OP saying, "I was expecting a response like this, and that's perfectly fine. I didn't treat her like she owed me anything. I treated her with kindness and respect. However, she resented me and we grew apart." And then C. Dazer says, "That sounds like she was a pet. And from your own post, you say she carried the burden of the mental and physical load. You didn't do enough to fix this, and she left. So many men find this out the hard way, and I'm sorry that this is the way your marriage is ending." And then C.S. Cotran says, "Imagine having to tell a fully grown man he needs to help clean up the home he lives in, and he's so unemotional he won't even cry in front of her." And then the OP says, "That is fine. I fully own up to my lack of accountability. I also own that I took steps to correct them. Maybe it was ultimately for the best. I also didn't try to paint anyone in any particular light. I was being factual in my post. he could be factual, but the fact is that he didn't do enough to fix it when she brought it to him. He let it linger. But the person at the bottom, I love empathetic men's mental health subs because obviously women are not going to just let these men get away with it. And it's kind of funny to me, but I do believe that men should have a place and space where they can go and have these feelings out. But the thing is, they don't really take full accountability until it is too late. And that's why we will continue to see so many of these posts. Anyways, let me know what you think about this one. Join the conversation. Don't forget to like, comment, and share.